This is the Emotional Horsemanship podcast. I am Lockie Phillips, your host. Emotional Horsemanship coaches deeply caring horse people to train emotionally balanced horses with science, empathy, and feel. And this is the podcast dedicated to exploring all of that within. We try to innovate horse training that puts the horse first. Season 2 of this podcast brings us solo episodes, special guests, and small groups of guests as we discuss horses, horse training, the equestrian industry, and the big, beautiful ideas that horses inspire in us always. A little bit of a shift of gear into this season already. My guest on the podcast today is Ash Moon. Ash Moon is known on Instagram as Little Welsh Dragon. She is an accredited trauma-informed horse trainer who is studying equine behavioral science. She has a really beautiful social media presence and a very gentle, respectful, curious nature that I was instantly drawn to. And I couldn't wait to bring her to the podcast so that you could all meet her too. She's very worth a follow and well worth a listen. So, I hope you enjoy Ash Moon. I'm sitting with Ash Moon. Ash Moon, hello. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here and see your smiling face.
Thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
So, I'll start with the first question I like to ask everybody. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you do it?
I am a whole mixture, as I guess most people are. I'm a horsewoman living on Dartmoor in the UK, in the wilds of the moors, with my little band of boys. And I'm a personal trainer and have been for 11 years with a history in dance. And I'm a cardigan fan and a baking fairy.
Baking fairy, cardigan fan, personal trainer, former dancer, horse trainer. That's why I like you. That all makes sense now. Thank you.
I'm also an ex-traveller kid, so my parents are the most incredible hippies you could ever imagine, and they brought me up travelling around, which I think helped me. They sort of brought me up to always look outside of the box, and so I have always looked outside the box and always feel like I'm surprised when people don't look outside the box, which feels like, almost part of my essence.
Wonderful. And so how do you do that now?
I think it's, I was talking about this the other day actually with a friend who's also a horsewoman. I think for me, it feels like just being happy with where you are, but always looking to see where you can improve or looking to see where you can expand your brain or expand your knowledge of something. So with horses, obviously, to be rooted, but to never feel like I have pinnacle, to always be looking at how someone else is doing something, to always be growing, but with an anchor.
And so you've begun your horse training business recently, correct?
Yeah. Yes, I have, yeah.
And how's it going?
It's going good. It's been surprising. I really thought that I was going to start and I was just going to feel afraid all the time, because fear is a big one, isn't it? I think in general in life. And people have come, like I've got quite a small following on Instagram, but nearly every day I have messages from people asking me about things, particularly because of my horse Max, who I rescued in the summer, and who's really brought people's attention to the journey, I think, of traumatized horses, or just trauma in horses, because I feel like most horses have trauma just from being part of our crazy human world. So a lot of it has been sort of more like facilitating online, which feels really good, actually, just like talking to people and seeing what I can do with. So it's been really good. It feels really good. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, to start an equestrian service business in this economy requires some cojones, I think. It requires some chutzpah, some courage. Where did you find the courage to begin?
I think from the horses. Yeah. Totally. I lost an amazing mare last year.
I remember.
Like my whole world. I won't talk about her too much, because if I do, I will cry for the rest of the day. But she was why I found you, actually. And she was very soft and very fiery at the same time. And she was really like to be with me, you do need to have big juicy cojones and also a big juicy heart. And so I was like, with her, she bounced me off into wanting to help other people, and people were very interested in her. So I already had quite a lot of questions just because of her, I think, which was brilliant. Yeah.
We'll put a pin in Avela. I'm saying that correctly.
Awela.
Awela. See,
Yeah.
that's the continental exposure. W is heard as a V to me because I spent too much time in Germany.
Banishing my little Welsh princess.
Yeah, there we go. So we'll put a pin in Awela because maybe we'll find some courage to speak about that a little later. But as a young horse trainer who's just starting out, from your perspective, because I haven't forgotten what it was like to just start out either, and I still think I'm starting out. Every day I start again. Every day I start again from the beginning. But what are you finding is really important to horses and their people right now?
I think simplicity, and whether or not people are comfortable in actually just sharing space with their horses feels like what every session I do, whether it's physical or online, seems to be coming back to. Because it feels like horses are just so overwhelmed by us constantly doing, even the people that feel like they're very gentle and very soft, myself massively included. You're feeding your horse and then also putting a rug on him and also like trying to groom him, and he's just trying to eat some food and he's already really overwhelmed. So it feels like, for me, it's like bringing things down to simplicity and then just seeing, are you comfortable in the space with your horse, and is your horse comfortable with you, and are you aware that he's not comfortable or she's not comfortable? That feels like nearly everything at the moment.
Damn. So the first step is, can you simply be there and have a clean slate to begin?
Yeah.
And you're finding is that uncommon to find that, or people are struggling to create that?
I think both. I think I don't know what it's like in other countries, but in the UK, it's so, the horsey world here is really, it's a bonkers place. I mean, I know it's bonkers everywhere, but the UK is pretty bonkers.
I've heard something a little bit on the grapevine. I used to live in Andalusia, which is the largest British population outside of the British Isles. And the stories I would hear from my British compatriots in the south of Spain is that the British horse community is bonkers. Their words, not mine, like totally barking mad.
It is. They're terrifying. That was my biggest fear, was like just the people, really scary.
Scary. Yeah.
Scary. Yeah, scary.
Yes.
And I can't remember what I was saying now.
Well, that's because the fear knocked the thought out of your brain. But so people are afraid in their own communities somehow.
Yes,
in
massively.
The UK.
I think there's a massive shame community about not doing stuff with your horse. So it's always about, so it's always, if you're sort of the gentle one that's just, even if you just want to go hacking, people say, oh, it's just a happy hacker. Like, it's a real downer to just be someone that just wants to do stuff which is just spending time with your horse. And obviously happy hacking
is really difficult to do.
It's really difficult.
It's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. And most people that compete on their horses can't go for a gentle hack on their horses. So,
no, not without, basically exerting enough pain on the horse to suppress them long enough to go around the hack and get back again alive.
Yes, exactly.
So you're meeting with people and you're putting first things first. You're not putting the cart before the horse. You're trying to put first things first and get things tidy and get things in order, and have people just make a simple start where they just feel safe, clear, and connected with the animal before they do anything else. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. I thought that I was going to end up starting with like leading work with most people, no matter what level they're at, but was like, that's already asking. It's way too far. Yeah, there's no safety. Horses are not comfortable. People are not comfortable. Yeah, horses are always over threshold.
I can't tell you how many lessons in leading I teach a year.
Yeah.
Can't tell you, because here's what most halter training for most horses looks like. One day, someone wrenches a halter onto them and starts yanking them around. Done, halter trained. That's it. And the next thing you know, there's a bit in their mouth and a saddle on the back, and it's just all escalates very, very rapidly. And it's all built on this foundation where the horse doesn't understand why there's equipment on their head in the first place and what to do about it. Are you finding that also?
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter their age. You can have 19-year-old horses with no halter training.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely, and just not safe with it at all, and just not able to be caught or anything. Like just seeing a human means pressure, doesn't it? And just seeing a halter means pressure,
And they run.
and they run. Yeah.
So if we've got this massive shame to be doing lots of active stuff with the horse, and if you're not sweating the horse out 6 days a week, you're somehow not good enough. And even then, if you're sweating them out 6 days a week, they've got to look a certain way and wear a certain thing and do the certain things. If there's that pressure, and then on the other end of the spectrum, most people have horses who are not halter trained and don't know how to lead and can barely be caught, etc. And most people can't stand next to their horse without having an existential crisis. What the hell do we do with that,
Yeah.
Ash? What do we do with that? How can we pull that together? I'm asking you because I'm asking for a friend. Asking for a friend, of course. I mean, what have been your ideas so far?
Well, this is a silly thing, but I actually sometimes have to go off before I can deal with any of it, and I have like a little dance routine that I can do that like makes me feel a bit silly and a bit fun, and makes me
Nice.
feel.
That works.
That is what I do.
Nonsense. So we need a little bit of nonsense
I
just
need a bit of
to
nonsense.
release ourselves.
Yeah, mix it up and like remind people that it doesn't need to be serious,
Okay.
and that lightheartedness can add to your gentleness. For me, feels like quite a big one. Like you can laugh
Say
it
that
out.
again.
Lightheartedness can add to gentleness.
Good. We'll slap that on a meme and push that out across the internet. There you go. That was a good one. Well done. That was really good. That was great. That was so good. I loved that. I loved that. Yes. Lightheartedness adds to your gentleness.
Yeah, I think so.
Does not compute for me personally. I have to tell you, I'm very heavy-hearted.
Are you?
No, I can be. I can take this very, very seriously.
Yeah.
To a fault sometimes because I see a lot of really serious shit.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've got some coaches working with me who are very lighthearted because it helps me also to remember, okay, wait, make a joke. It's fine.
It's hard though, because it's a heavy business, isn't it? And also you're dealing with the insanities of the world, and also people, it's emotional working with people in the horse, isn't it? Because we feel a lot for them and they feel a lot, and we're so wrapped up, and people cry all the time, don't they, with their horses, and it's a big thing.
My first session with a new client often has them crying at some point, not because I'm trying to create tears, but often it's just such a relief to get in front of someone that they feel like that they don't have to hold back and actually can tell their story to and talk about what's really going on with the horse and there's no shame present, and that they feel safe inside the boundaries, etc. So that's quite common. Are you finding that also?
Yeah, I also find that I quite often cry. Yeah, I get oh my God, you're doing so well. Why are you not crying? That happens all the time. I'm like, look at his face, he's so happy.
I love it. I love it. Oh gosh, in this day and age, we need more people like you setting up shop. I think it's really, really good work. So we've got these big issues in the industry. And you've decided to enter the industry knowing that there are big issues present. You know that there's a lot of shame in your geographical location, your geographical community. There's a lot of exercise obsession. There's a lot of barn aisle drama.
Oh my gosh.
Livery yards across the aisles and across the world. And yet you're still trying to enter into that field because you could just work another line of work and have your horses and live your life and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
So why step into the industry?
It feels like in my body, like the most right thing. And I think that I always try and level in with just what feels good in my body. Like it feels scary, but I feel like I'm quite good now at protecting myself, which is a big part of it, isn't it? Having to put up an energetic protection or just be good with your boundaries. Yeah, it just feels right somehow to do it. And I don't know whether it will be me full time because of doing personal training, but they sort of inform each other nicely with just awareness of bodies and awareness of when to push people and when to not push people. So I think I'll just see how it evolves, really. But mostly it just feels right, even if it's a bit scary.
How do you describe the feeling of it feels right to someone who is confused on what feels right?
That there is an element of lightness when I think about going in that direction, and an element of constriction when I think about not or going in a different direction, and an element of joy, like, a little bubbling up of joy comes up.
I'm going to go a little deeper on that subject with you, if you'll permit me.
Yeah, go for it.
Can I? So when you're sensing in your body where there is lightness and where there is restriction, and you're trying to follow that lightness and follow that joy and follow that ease, where do you typically find that in your body? Like, what location do you typically find that in your body?
I find that it goes up from like root chakra, right up, and then across my chest.
Root chakra up through solar plexus across the heart center.
Yeah.
And so for someone out there listening or trying with their horse who struggles to even have a sense of their body, who really doesn't feel what their root chakra is, really doesn't feel their center, doesn't feel the difference between lightness and restriction, it is just so confounded with confusion and chaos and this circuitous kind of anxiety or worry, which we see a lot of. For that person who can't relate to the sensation of an awareness of their body, what would you do? I know that's a huge question, and your answer does not need to change the world. You could even just phonate and make a noise, just like a bleh, like that. That's also acceptable. And I'll nod my head and say, interesting, and I'll phonate back.
I'm just going to think on it for a moment. That's an excellent question. I think because with my other work with humans, I find that people often don't know where their bodies are. So I will normally just try and get people just to breathe and just be aware of breath, even if they can't be aware of anything else. And then see if it can gradually grow, even
From
if
the
that's
breath.
over weeks. Yeah. Just because that's something you can do physically with your body. And it can bring calmness at the same time.
What about with people who focus on the breath exacerbates a panic response? That can happen sometimes. People who are dealing with like clinical anxiety, if we focus too much on their breath, it can be quite dangerous because they can get stuck on their breath and then you can exacerbate panic. What about that person, if you were to meet them, or if you have?
Well, interestingly, I can be that person.
Fabulous. So you are that person, and so
yeah,
you
me
are
and anxiety are like, we're good friends.
close friends. So because you have that, you feel safely qualified by way of empathy and experience to venture into that realm with that client.
As much as I'm able to. I think it depends on the client, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, and I think then, again, for simplicity, shake it out. Just move your body so that your nervous system can sort of think about something else.
And so if you found someone who was with you and they were actively going over threshold based on trying to find their body and focusing on their breath, and you notice them start to spiral out of control, what might you do then?
Would I be with them with their horse or just in general?
Their horse is probably nearby.
Yeah, their horse probably
They might even be underneath them.
If they were on the horse, I'd ask them to come off and just come and sit out of the space and sit and breathe and maybe get their head down and have some water and just come down to a base neutral where they can just try and regulate. Yeah.
Nervous system first aid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have some chocolate.
Yeah, have some chocolate, get some sugar, have some cake that I will probably have baked earlier and brought for you.
Cake, water, head between the knees. I think that's what we all need to do right now. In fact, for the next 4 years with the world situation, you might find me with my head between my knees eating cake. That's probably where I'll be for the next 4
The t-shirt can be like cake, water, head between knees.
Then horse. Yeah.
Then horse.
I love that. Merch. There you go. There's your first line of merch. Quick, write it down. Trademark it. Quick. Quick.
I have actually got a pen and paper here in case there was like some sudden inspiration.
Well, you've said a couple of things already. What did you say earlier? You said Joy, something about joy. And what did you say earlier?
Lightheartedness, I think.
Is the key or the pathway to
Lightheartedness can add to gentleness.
that one.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Thanks.
It is. It's brilliant. I love that.
I think it leads into like those studies recently. I haven't read a lot on them, but about how awe can have a big impact on how much empathy we feel, can't it? And so that sort of feels like sisters to me, like they're holding hands a little bit.
Awe is an interesting one, Ash. I'm glad you brought that up because in reading emotional neuroscience textbooks and treatises and studies that discuss emotional systems, awe is a system that scientists haven't really like put into a category. And not because it doesn't exist, but because they haven't really gone to study awe in another animal, because they kind of believe maybe at some level human centrically that awe is for us. It's like awe kind of speaks to reverence and to prayer and to a sense of God and a sense of the higher universe and a sense of the higher self and of beauty and wonder in the universe. It's sort of this very, very sort of largely esoteric, not of the earth sort of sensation. But I don't know about you. I've seen horses look at views with awe.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. Where my horses are at the moment is on the most insane hill in the valley. But the view is
up in Dartmoor.
And your
the
brain
famous
just goes,
Dartmoor.
Famous Dartmoor, top of the valley. We look down the valley, and the boys just stand on the top of the hill and they just soak it up.
Take it in.
Take it in, yeah. Yeah, and then the rain comes in and they're like,
I'm out of shit. I'm out of it. Or interrupted by disgust. Damn,
yeah.
That's very British of them, frankly.
It is, yeah. It is very British of them.
So awe can be a pathway to presence, to a simple beginning, to joy, to lightness. Have you ever worked with someone or yourself experienced a sensation where all of that we just discussed feels so far away, so unattainable, so impossible, good for you, not for me, I can't do it, I've got problems? Have you ever experienced that, or have you ever worked with someone in that category? I've certainly experienced that. I've certainly worked with people in that category. It's a very difficult place to be.
Yeah, it is very difficult. It's like moving through concrete, isn't it? Because you're just coming up against constant, like not wanting to improve or not wanting to be able to come out of a wounded space or something, it feels like.
Is it a not wanting to come out of a wounded space? Like not wanting to come out of a wounded space?
I feel like sometimes it is, because sometimes it's like the negative is so addictive, isn't it? That it's safer to be there. The negative is so addictive that it can feel safer to be there.
People get addicted to feeling bad.
Yes. There's that whole thing of like negative connotations are addictive for the brain, aren't they? Because they're clear. They're clear, and they can, if we were running from something scary, help
keep us
survive.
Safe.
Yeah.
And if we have felt underpowered, disempowered rather, or frightened or insecure in our lifetime, then that sensation of identifying with the negative and running from it feels comfortable and safe, and that's what keeps us alive. But the whole idea of following your flow and following your joy and following lightness and awe is like a totally foreign concept that's often been culturally conditioned out of people.
Yes, totally, isn't it? Yeah.
I've certainly experienced in other jobs encouragement from even superiors and leaders to not be better.
Yeah.
You think you're better than us? No, stay in the shit with everyone else.
Yeah.
Stay right here with everyone else. Don't get better than that.
Yeah. How dare you grow?
How dare you grow? How dare you want more? How dare you want to rise above your station? How dare you want to be happy when everyone else is not?
How dare you challenge what I already do?
Right. What's that about?
That is some like clunky, crunchy stuff, isn't it?
Clunky, crunchy. Do you know where it comes from? In your experience? You don't know it. Can you relate to it?
I can totally relate to it. And actually, because where I live now is quite a small, very local town, which is amazing. It's very bubbly. There's a lot going on, but it's a small town and it's gossipy. And I find that is the same thing. It's like people are so addicted to like the negative gossip And so I think about it quite a lot, which I feel like is the same sort of brain spiral.
The negative gossip. It's insidious.
Mm.
And it plays out in livery barns. Were you ever in the livery situation?
Very hardly, yeah. I've tried to avoid that as much as I can, possibly.
That's extremely lucky. You're extremely lucky. Were you at any point in a livery environment?
As a kid, I was. So my dad wonderfully knew that I had to be surrounded by animals, and so he surrounded me with animals and horses. And we had a couple of liveries when I was a kid, which started off amazing. I started off being trained in natural horsemanship and then evolved from. So we followed a teacher to a yard, and started off amazing, and then quickly becomes toxic with the gossip. And working on yards here, I found that, but I have tried to avoid since being an adult being actually on a yard. But yeah.
But you work with a lot of clients in liveries.
Yeah, and I've actually there's a yard close to here, and I've had to, because I do Reiki as well, and I've had to say I can no longer treat your horses because
it's too toxic
on this yard. That person is amazing, but that yard is too awful, and I cannot be there.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Can you sense it when you even drive up the driveway in your car?
Oh, it's like a dark cloud.
So what's that about? I don't get that. I don't understand why the place that should be the seat of the joy of our life, of your hobby, of your passions, of your interests, of learning and creativity, why this place, this community public facility where you house, care for, and keep your beloved family member, your pet, your sport compatriot, your artistic pursuits, where you are supposed to be learning and creative and discovering. Why does that so quickly devolve into this hotbed of just human trash?
It's awful, isn't it? It's like a cesspit just pops up out of what should be amazing.
Do you know why?
I wonder if it comes maybe from insecurity, like people becoming insecure and then it just comes out. I don't know.
But you're a personal trainer, so I'm assuming you meet a lot of human insecurity.
Yes. Yeah, I find that people tend to just be, well, they're scared. They're very scared with every session because they think I'm going to make them do something awful, which I am, but lovingly.
Which I am. But they're going to feel good about doing something awful.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of the job description. This awful thing is actually wonderful if you just do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in your experience, your professional and personal experience, how does someone who could have been confident begin to lose their confidence and become insecure? Another difficult question. I ask the hard questions here.
No, I'm enjoying them.
Look, he's hard talk. Yes.
I think it can be the smallest thing, can't it? Like whether it's just timing with something happening and then receiving a comment or something happening and being too tired to be able to catch yourself and catch your own thought to be able to hold space for yourself.
Or can you say that again and give us really a chance to hear those 3 or 4 elements you just so easily spoke to, because they were really, really important in my opinion.
Oh no! Now I have to.
Oh no pressure!
Oh, no.
You just mentioned like 3 or 4 really amazing elements in quick succession to each other, and I just for myself, I really want to catch them and hold each of them dearly.
I think timing, whether something has happened that's knocked your confidence, and then the next thing that happens or something quickly afterwards also knocks it rather than allowing you to lift it.
So you're saying that sometimes you can just get unlucky with timing?
I think so.
Which is the nature of life and chaos and living. You can just get unlucky, and then that one unlucky happenstance can create a cascade of events that begin.
Yeah. Especially if maybe you're somebody that hasn't got the tools to be able to catch your thoughts and notice that thought, I don't have to believe it, or that thought is not beneficial.
So bad luck, bad timing meets perhaps a lack of preparation or self-awareness, a relationship to the self.
Yeah, being like friends with yourself, but that's a rare thing, I think, isn't it? To be able to actually be like, hey, I'm going to be like a really good buddy to myself and be like, that is not how to talk to yourself. Or
But that's very verboten in some cultures. It's shameful to kind of be friends with yourself somehow.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. I was reading a book yesterday that I had like an hour between clients, and I popped into this little bookshop, which is lush. And there was a little book on mindfulness, and I just thought I'd have a flick through because it just looked interesting. I hadn't read it before, and it was saying like, it was from a Buddhist writer, I think, and a lot of it was really lovely, but also a lot of it was like, that feeling is a toxic feeling. You can't have that emotion, and that in itself feels like blindsiding.
Right.
We are allowed to feel all of the uncomfortable crunchy feelings, aren't we? Like, we need them, obviously. I know that you teach that more than anyone.
We do. And there's very specific neuroscience reasons why we require discomfort to live, frankly, and to function and to learn. So unluck meets preparation or lack of friendliness towards the self. I say lack of preparation and self-awareness. You say you're just not friends with yourself, which is a much more diplomatic and correct way to describe the issue. I should be taking notes. Meets then the next thing. And you mentioned like you're too tired to catch yourself. That's a big one.
Yes, that is a big one, isn't it? That is a big one. And I feel that in myself a lot often, like particularly with like winter. You can just spiral so easily, can't you, when you're depleted?
And is depletion just about not sleeping and eating right, or can depletion take on other intersectional modalities and paradigms? Can it take on different forms, different types of depletion?
Well, I reckon depletion could cover go in all paradigms.
Spiritually depleted, emotionally depleted, mentally depleted,
physically depleted. Yeah, I think so.
And as a personal trainer, you're kind of tasked with filling those areas of depletion, right?
Yeah, it feels more like being a therapist than anything, because I feel like there's such a fine line. And I think it's the same with horses, or at least it's the same with working with people with their horses, that you have to be able to challenge them and give them something which makes them feel good because they've grown, at the same time as help them feel very safe, like holding a bowl where they can be safe. And some sessions you would never challenge them at all because they just need to feel safe, and then they just need to leave the lesson feeling good.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then some sessions you can be like, go, fly.
Come on, yes, and challenge, but you've got to have the tact to be able to know when to make that call.
Yeah.
Well, your personal training background would have prepared you extremely well to serve people with their horses. Wow, it's so cool. I'm so happy to hear there's someone in Dartmoor like yourself. How far do you travel away from Dartmoor to deliver services?
Not far, because I do everything by bike. So I cycle or run to every client.
So not far at all.
Yeah.
Do you drive?
No.
You don't drive?
No, I'm a pedaling personal trainer.
I love that. You must be bloody fit.
Well, either that or just slightly mad, but I think it might be a combination.
I think you have to be a bit mad to be fit, frankly.
Yeah, and to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think I'd be more mad if I wasn't doing it, which is the thing.
So you're choosing degrees of madness. You're just slightly less mad. So the exercise is keeping the madness at bay?
Absolutely, yeah. I came off my bike a couple of weeks ago. I was awful that 2 weeks where I couldn't run. I was, such a grumpy little, I was jealous of everyone. Look at the squats that you're doing. I want to do those squats.
So exercise and workout is like madness mitigation.
Yeah, it's definitely the leveler of my brain.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Yeah. The general population that you meet.
Yes.
How is their relationship to exercise and putting their body to work? What's their relationship with it generally?
I have a real mixture. Generally, I've been very lucky with having some incredible clients. I'm not saying that they're not incredible if they find it hard, but I find there's a lot of dread and a lot of fear and a lot of just body shaming and shaming themselves for not being able to do what they think they should be able to do in their age bracket or their body type bracket or whatever. So a lot of dread and a lot of fear and a lot of shame. And then there's like a little segment which are
fanatics.
Fanatics. Or just, love being in their bodies.
Enthusiasts of the body.
Enthusiasts. Yeah.
So it is a mixed bag, but there's kind of two dichotomies present.
Yeah.
Who's in the middle ground?
I don't know. Who is in the middle ground? What is in the middle ground?
Are we in the middle ground? I don't know if you're in the middle ground. I think you might be on the extremist edge with Miss Bike, horse riding personal trainer. It's almost masochistic, right?
Kind of. I think I could be in the middle ground because I have an electric bike.
There it is.
Yeah, because otherwise I get to people and I'm already dead and like a sweaty mess on the floor.
So you got an electric bike, so that you're okay.
Bike, yeah.
I love it. Well, what do you love about horse training, and what's your current fixation and obsession on training?
Oh, I love seeing moments of like cohesion together, moments of togetherness, whether that's like a simple thing or from having done something really extravagant. And I think my obsession at the moment is learning as much as I can about biomechanics with the horses, particularly with Max, my rescue horse, because his body was so just all over the place that it's been like doing, I feel like I'm doing like a degree. I mean, I'm not, but I feel like I am in just seeing a body unfold and seeing the damage that can be caused to a body that's been so tense and so afraid.
Where did you find Max?
He was on a yard in Cornwall and he was they were trying to sell him. And I was like a last port of call. They tried to sell him to me. And I said, I've just lost a horse who had a lot of health issues. There's something not right about this boy. But as soon as I met him, I loved him. He was just a really gorgeous soul. But I said, I cannot just buy a horse. And they said, well, you are our last port of call, so we're going to put him down in a couple of weeks anyway. And because he'd been explosive. When I first met him, he double-barreled his owner, like kicked her down the yard and then hid behind me. And I was like, oh my God, you're not in there.
You saw him double-barrel his owner and then he hid behind you.
Yeah, I was like, this is not.
Well, he told her, didn't he?
Yeah, and she loved him. She loved him. She just didn't
understand him.
Didn't understand him. Yeah, and he's only 5, so he's only a baby.
Let's take a break. If you're enjoying this podcast, then you're very likely going to absolutely love at least one of my online courses that I have available for sign up at any time for anybody. And the course I'd like to invite you to join is called the Emotional Horsemanship Foundation online course. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but let me break it down for you. The foundations of emotional horsemanship are taught there in simple, easy English. You will learn the foundation principles of this horse training method. And when I say method, that does not mean dogma, plus powerful self-awareness exercises. Then, carefully and deliberately, with theory and practical tutorials, you will be taught mare-foal bonding, or MFB, which is the essential foundation technique of emotional horsemanship, of how I train horses. MFB is a little bit like the alphabet of emotional horsemanship, and all subsequent techniques that we work on spring from it. The course includes downloadable PDF study guides, training journals, and is hosted on a mobile-compatible platform so your learning potential is maximized. And I'm thrilled to tell you, in the very near future, we will have an app for even better mobile study. This course has over 700 students in it, students representing 51 countries and who speak 16 different native languages. On its original platform, it still holds a 4.9 out of 5-star rating on average. It gives you 4 hours and 18 minutes of video tutorials, 18 tutorials, both theory and practical, 6 tests, downloadable PDF booklets, more than 40 downloadable visual slides, and a professional learning platform. Everything is in plain, simple, clear, and easy to understand English, and transcriptions are available if English is your second language. Some of our students said that this course leads straight to the opening of a heart. Some of our students also said that they're thoroughly enjoying this course. Some of our students also said that the course was easy to follow and it felt priceless. Quote, exactly how I've always felt and intuitively got to know my horses. Understanding the actual reasoning for this is priceless, said one student. If you'd like to join me, I'd like to invite you to sign up via the link in the show notes, or you can go to emotionalhorsemanship.com, click on the online courses tab, and follow the prompts to the Emotional Horsemanship Foundation online course. Now, let's return to my conversation with horse trainer and instructor, Ash Moon.
Tim, she just didn't
understand him.
Didn't understand him. Yeah, and he's only 5, so he's only a baby. Yeah, so that's
I love that you just said he's 5 and only a baby. That is so correct of you. That is so correct. Thank you for coming correct to my platform. I saw a post on Facebook the other day. A performance trainer said, I'm making a really brave decision to prioritize the long-term longevity and health of the horses. I am no longer riding 2-year-olds. I start them under saddle at 3. And I went, damn, come on, you can do better. I mean, at least it's like you've made some change, but could we push that a little further? Please,
oh my God.
Please push that a little further.
Yeah, it's like I'm only going to now put like child labor in at like 10 years old.
Right.
Not at 5.
Right. It's like, okay, well, it changed. We'll say yes to the growth. That's what I'll say yes to.
Yeah.
Yes to the growth.
Every little win.
Every little win we can get. Okay, so you're really obsessed with biomechanics at the moment. And did that tie into your rescuing of Max? Or were you already on the biomechanics train prior?
I think I was already interested just because I'm interested in bodies, whether they are human or equine.
Got it.
Or feline. My cat is reminding me.
Yes, I've got 3 cats and a dog here right now. Yes.
Yes, I think that was already there. I feel like I'm very much at the beginning of learning more about horses' bodies, but it feels like a big one for me.
We all are. We're all of us, even experts, are at the beginning of learning about horses' bodies, and that never stops. And if it does stop or it perceives to stop, that means you should stop doing that line of work, in my opinion. So you found Max. He double barrels his owner down the yard. I hope she's okay. Was she all right? Was she hurt?
I feel like there could be the possibility that they could end up hearing this, but it was also a really funny moment. I mean, it's awful.
No, but you find the lightness in things. So that's not you casting a judgment or being shitty.
No.
That's you being Ash. You find lightness in humor as a way to find connection. So of course you would find the humor in that moment because that's
it was funny because her trousers fell down.
That is funny, Ash.
It was funny, yeah.
That's Benny Hill funny.
Yeah, it was like
that's Saturday Night Live funny.
Yeah,
that's Looney Tunes funny. Unfortunately,
it was Looney Tunes funny.
Unfortunately. So, but physically, was she okay? Was she hurt?
She was hurt. She wasn't nothing broken, but she was quite grazed and quite
grazed up, and the ego probably.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine anything more embarrassing than having someone come to see a horse you want to sell and they double barrel you down the yard
and your pants come off?
I'm
so sorry. I'm so sorry for. Well, if she's listening, I hope she's okay, and I hope she has found a horse that loves her as much as she loves them, and that she's okay and she's healthy and thriving with her horse. That's all we can wish. That's what we wish for. Yes, and we hope that is the case. So you brought him home, and then what happened?
Brought him home. He was too sore and too weak to be able to. He did a couple of little steps of trot when he met my 2 Dartmoor ponies, but he couldn't do any sort of running around. He couldn't walk downhill, so I had to fence off the top of the field so that he could.
Wait,
he was too weak.
He wasn't skinny or underfed or weak from malnutrition or something.
He was a little bit skinny, but not horrendously so.
Okay.
But it was like every single muscle was hypertonic, so like he had no core, but all of his
everything was gripped.
Yeah, so like I thought he literally had an infection in his adductors because they were so overly developed that I thought they were puffy, but they were like pushing his stifles out because it was so overly developed inside.
From what?
Like, I don't know, like being in survival mode and like his brachycephalic, like under his neck, like just a wodge.
Was he getting lunged to death or something? Like what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe too weak to be ridden probably because he's a quarter horse, so he was really bum high when they did back him. And I'm guessing just like draw reins and lunging to death. I don't know. Yeah.
We don't know. So he couldn't walk down a hill.
He could sort of totter down a little bit, but I had to fence off the flattish bit at the top so that he could even just recover enough to be able to deal with, the land that I was putting him on. He couldn't roll. He couldn't groom with the other horses because it was too painful for them to touch his back with their muzzles.
You're kidding.
Yeah, you couldn't touch him. You could touch his nose, and that was it. Like, touch was pain.
Did you muscle test him for MIM or PSSM1 or PSSM2? Now called MIM.
Yeah.
You did?
I found nothing. And I was scared because he's a quarter horse. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you test him for Herder?
No, I haven't even heard of that.
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Herder is a genetic issue. Herder quarter horses. I'm checking Google. Herder, hereditary equine regional dermaasthenia Herder is an autosomal recessive trait usually found in quarter horses that causes an abnormal collagen structure. Hereditary equine regional dermaasthenia is caused by a glycine to arginine substitution for the protein peptidyl prolyl isomerase B. Yes, it's a genetic disorder that's quite prevalent in quarter horses.
Wow.
And if he's registered with the American Quarter Horse Association, because I've got a quarter horse at home and I did register him with the association, they have to, in order to get their registration document, you have to undergo tests for this issue, and it has to be marked on their genetic lineage if they've got it or not, or if it's in a recessive trait or not. My quarter horse doesn't have it, but he has the recessive trait for it. So if he was a stallion, were he to breed, he could pass it on, but he doesn't have it active or present in himself.
Well, I'm definitely going to be looking into that. Herder, I need to write it down.
Look into it. It's something, if he's an unregistered grade quarter horse, meaning not registered with the American Quarter Horse Association, it's possible he could have it present. And that could explain some of that muscle tightness and stiffness.
Yeah, because he is unregistered, because they thought he was a Dartmoor pony that had just grown really big.
But turns out he's a quarter horse.
We found out that he was potassium deficient, and there's an amazing company here in the UK. I don't know whether they ship abroad, but they are the most incredible. They're Trinity Consultants.
Okay.
Run by a man called Simon, and they are just the most incredible nutritionists and herbalists, but in quite a medicinal way. And he has helped me so much, and he gave me potassium to give to Max. And within 2 weeks, his muscles just suddenly went wobbly.
Wow.
I could not believe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Simple nutritional deficiency can literally cause, again, a cascade of events, which then you just struggle to catch up with them, you know?
Yeah.
So how long did it take him to be able to walk up and down your hill in the Dartmoor?
It actually didn't take that long. It took, it took a couple of months. But I've only had him about 8 months, so he's still massively unfolding. But now, he cantered up the hill the other day in the snow.
Fantastic.
And I cried.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes!
Fantastic.
You're a young horse. And he can turn and look behind him now.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Although I had a friend come out recently, and she does this therapy which conducts through salt water. So you rub salt water onto the horse's body, and then she has a little machine that looks like she's about to go and bust some ghosts in the 80s. And it conducts, I guess, electricity through the salt water. I don't quite know what it's called. And she was able to go all down his back and into his pelvis, and there was still no pulse really in any of the muscles down his spine, like his mid-back, until you got down to his glutes. And that's after 8 months. And she was gradually able to sort of get them pulsing. And then by the end, you could see the muscle contracting, and it was fascinating. And he just suddenly turned around and looked at her and was like, what did you make me do? my ass clenched, my back is moving, what is going on? And his face, he just couldn't believe it. He had his nostrils were going everywhere, his ears were going out.
Wow.
So that was really fascinating.
Boy, oh boy. So you're still very much in the unfolding process.
Yeah, hugely.
What other diagnostics have you explored with him? I'm just curious.
I think that there's probably a lot of nerve impingement. So I've been doing a lot of pillar 1 from the
Celeste's work. Yes. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Celeste. We love her work.
Yeah. Shout out to her. So that's been a major thing. So that was the first thing I did, actually, was just nutrition, pillar 1.
Love it.
Yeah. And getting his feet better. So he had fairly negative angles, but actually considering that, his feet have been nowhere near as bad as I thought they would be. And I have an amazing trimmer who comes out. But yeah, mostly it's been trying to help him just find some relaxation. I felt like he needed to just lose emotional tension and then physical tension. before I could then start piecing other things together.
Wow. Have you explored x-rays of his joints, his lower legs, his neck, his back?
I've got x-rays of his back and that's all clear.
Good.
But I feel like he seems to have the most pain now, seems to be like in his shoulders and his withers, even though the x-rays came out clear. So I feel like that could come from anything really, like
base of the neck.
Yeah, base of the neck.
It would be worth looking at the base of the neck at the first rib if you can get to it, and at the lumbar sacral junction as well. I had Bex, Bex Nan. She's
Yes.
I had her back on the podcast, and she shared that she finds the most issue in skeletons at these junction points between cervical, thoracic, lumbar. That's where she sees the most issue, is at those junction points.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
Right. Well, what are you hoping for Max in the future?
I would love to be able to explore riding work with him if he's up for it when he's older and his body allows that. If not, then just a joyful partnership where we can play and explore our relationship and explore Dartmoor.
And how many horses does he live with?
He lives with 2 Dartmoor ponies, so there's three boys together.
Lovely.
Yeah. Little band of boys.
Now, if you'll permit me, I'd like to, at this juncture, speak a little bit more about our heart horses. If it gets too difficult to talk about it at any juncture, we can make a hard stop and back out of there. And I really want to support you in helping you to perhaps talk about her, as I also talk about the horses I've loved and love, because I think it's instructive for others to hear people share personal, emotional stories about horses they've loved, because we all love our horses and it's somehow shameful to talk about that. And we need to destigmatize having a deep connection with horses at the same time as teaching people how to have the connection, how to get the connection. Well, what do we do when we lose that connection then? What do we do then?
Yes, which is the most surreal thing.
The hardest.
Yeah, it's very weird.
How did you meet Awela?
It was the first time I'd ever gone horse shopping, and she was a Welsh section D, and I grew up partly in Wales, and I just always loved Welsh ponies. And she was for sale locally, and I actually went to look at her brother, who was a little bit older. She was only 2 years old, and I looked at her, and I had like a full body shiver. Like I felt like I was looking at myself in like another body. Like it was really surreal. And this little gangly 2-year-old that was all sort of gawky, and all the other horses sort of came swarming in and were really curious, and she just walked out to the edge of the herd and stood there and like watched and absorbed me for ages, and then came in to say hello. And I just loved that she was so considerate, and she needed to be able to adjust and like digest somebody, and she was like that the whole time until she felt like you might be allowed into her presence, which I love.
And when did she come into your life?
I got her then as a 2-year-old, so she was with her mum until she was 2.
Lucky.
I know. I think she was weaned at 6 months, but then put back with her mum and her siblings. So I felt like she just had this lovely herd dynamic, and her communication from having that and having also then been part of the herd that raised the younger ones was incredible. She was so, she taught my other pony that I had then, who I still have, is a little Dartmoor, and he had quite a mixed background and like couldn't really communicate with horses very clearly. He'd like be really explosive and then really like offish and just very sort of like hot and cold, and she gave him a master.
Skills.
Yeah.
How long did you have her?
She was 6 when she passed, and she was still really young. She was still a bubba. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's awful. But it's awful, but it's also incredible to have such an intense connection with a horse. Even if it was for a short time, it could have been several lifetimes.
Yes. Yeah, it feels like such a privilege. And I feel her all the time now. I've had some really insane moments with her and Max, and obviously they never met.
No, they've met.
Well, quite right. I've had some really like insane things. Like
she sent him.
Yes, she sent him. She totally sent him, or at least she sent me to him, because I thought when I found him this is not the right time. I've just lost her. But it was the right time for him. Even if
I'm
it
starting
wasn't.
to understand who Awela was. No, she sent me to him. She didn't send him. She sent me to him.
Yeah.
That feels a little bit more true, right?
Yeah.
No, you go to him.
Yeah.
I'm
You
telling
have a
you.
job to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I want him in my herd. That's what it felt like.
Wow. And how did that come across? How did you experience that? How did she show up?
Yeah, I had a few dreams about her. And then when I first saw a photo of Max, it was a terrible picture. You could hardly see what he looked like, but I could not stop thinking about him at all. Like, he just wouldn't leave my head. And I'd seen so many other pictures of horses because people were sending me things like, oh, I know you've lost a horse. This is a horse that's for sale and whatnot. And yeah, you could hardly even see what his face looked like or anything. I just could not stop thinking about him. And so that was why I went to see him in the end. Yeah. But when he arrived, I had a few moments where, so I've got like a little piece of Awela's mane that I have in my pocket that I have in my coat that I take up to the horses. And so I let him smell her mane when he first arrived so he could like meet the whole herd, the ones that were there and the ones that weren't there physically.
Beautiful.
And then since then, I've had quite a lot of moments where I've been thinking about her, and Max will whinny and he will run off, like, you know how when horses go and they meet each other and they pop their tail up and they sprout their little tail, and he'll run off and he will stop and he will talk to something in midair, like nose to nose. Yeah, it's been wild. It's happened about 3 times. It's absolutely wild.
Oh my God.
I know.
I firstly completely believe you, and I think that that's absolutely what's happening.
It blows my mind.
It opens my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It opens mine too. Yeah.
Could you let us know how you lost her?
She had EMS very severely, and she'd been having bouts of laminitis just consistently, no matter what I did. Just felt like, and I felt like all the drugs just put more pressure on her liver and her kidneys. And she had been doing a remarkable turnaround, and then the local hunt came through my field, and the dogs surrounded her, and she just...
I'm sorry. I think that's all we have to hear. The stress. Well, for anyone listening, if they'd like to know my opinion about hunting in any form, including without horses, it's a hard no from me. You do you enjoy your life, but that's a hard no from me. I remember when I was living in the south of Spain, Ash, I had just moved to this off-grid ranch, and I was on sessions with a client in the afternoon, and we could hear the hunt going through the valley, the boar hunting. So we heard the dogs, we heard the gunshots, and we'd been hearing it around the valley all afternoon, and usually they avoid private property, which is where we were. But I finished a session, I got off the computer and I walked out onto the porch, and we could hear it really, really close. And my boyfriend, Mickey, said to me, "Lockie, the horses." And I went, "Shit, they're coming up into the paddock," because a little creek ran through my paddock, and they were in the creek pushing a boar up the creek towards my horse's paddock with about 7 hunting dogs. And these were big dudes, these hunting dogs. And they were in full bloodlust, and they were slowly killing this boar.
Oh my gosh. That's so traumatic.
Bite.
Oh my
And
God.
if you've ever heard a boar screaming for its life, it sounds human. It's human. And my horses were gathered up in the corner of the field watching this happen. And there were these drunk, bad hunters with rifles over their shoulders, pushing the dogs up and pushing the boar up the creek. And Ash, I'm a gentle person, generally. I've got a strength to me, but I'm a gentle person. I've never lost my faculties with rage like I lost my faculties in that moment. In that moment, I finally understood the capacity to harm others through rage. I finally understood it because I'd never felt that before. I ran down that hill grabbing a bamboo stick as I went, because that's all I had access to, a bamboo stick. And I ran at those pack of dogs and those hunters, screaming at the top of my lungs, whatever Spanish words I had available to me that would stop what was happening. And I think I said in Spanish, first, a very nasty swear word. Second, private property. Third, we have horses here. And fourth, leave. Fuera. Fuera. And I just kept repeating these 4 things at the top of my lungs. And I threw rocks at the dogs. I threw rocks at the hunters. And I was hitting the ground with the bamboo stick, screaming at them. And they were trying to reason with me. And I had like spit flying out of my mouth. I was like, you get the out of here, because you should not be here. And you should not be doing what you're doing. And you're bad at doing what you're doing. Because if you've found the boar, kill it, finish it. And I had a friend on the hill above me. She's saying to them in Spanish, finish the boar, like finish it. Don't let them slowly, it was horrific. And if I had a gun, I hate to think what I was capable of in that moment, because I was protecting my horses' lives. Because if that boar came into the field, it would have been within moments that the dogs could have turned on my horses in that instant. I lost my mind. I couldn't believe the entitlement and the violence and the aggression and the awfulness of humanity coming out through bloodlust and bad bloodlust.
It feels like the bloodlust.
Just absolutely awful. And I had those middle-aged Spanish men with rifles on their shoulders frightened of me. They turned on their heels and ran.
Yes.
They left the dogs. They left the boar. And I had them running. And they said, they tried to reason with me. And I picked up a rock and I pelted it at them, aiming for their head. I'm like, you get out of here. You get out of here. And they got in their four-wheel drive and they drove away.
Whoa.
And the dogs sort of went with them. And I went to go find the boar, and the boar had crawled underneath a bush and had expired by the creek, just lay there, just bled out into the creek. And it was so sad, and I was so disgusted and so enraged. And I was also really surprised at myself, because I've never felt so violent. I've never felt so protective. I've never felt so violated. It was quite therapeutic for me, frankly, to actually discover that I could, in a real emergency, do what was necessary. But they came back about an hour later and carefully, quietly removed the boar and took it with them.
Wow, that's interesting.
But since then, word got around that there was a berserk Australian living in that valley, and all hunts thereafter avoided that valley. And they would hunt on Saturdays and Sundays. And I would stand on the hill listening for the gunshots in the distance and watching the dogs come down the valley. And I would yell at them across the valley and tell them, you get out of here. This is private property. I was watchdogging. It was awful. And I am so sorry that.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's seeing people really, it's seeing humanity really
in humanity.
It's a disgusting. I find it very repulsive, that part of humans. But it's interesting what you said about going into your rage, because that's like finding another edge of yourself, isn't it? Like that's quite when you find the violence in yourself.
It was violent. It was like I saw red. It was a red mist. I've never felt red mist before. I've been pissed off.
Yeah.
But I've never felt like a pure rage, as a protective mechanism.
Did it make you feel like afraid of yourself, or did you feel like empowered in it?
Nope. I was ready to stand in front of their gun. I was ready to stand in front of their gun with a bamboo stick and tell them to fuck off.
I love that so
much.
And
I did.
That's so good.
And I did. And I had them running. They were bad hunters, because typically the hunters in our area at that time were very good at what they did and were clean about it. They would go in, harvest, leave, right? And the dogs were there to help locate and corral, and then the guns would dispatch. But these were just blood. This is blood sport. And you've got to remember, Spain's the country of bullfighting, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a normal part of culture.
And we contacted the mayor and asked the mayor, we told the mayor what had happened, that they'd come onto private property and they're not supposed to. And there were signs up saying you can't take hunts any further. And they had ignored all of those. And, we had a license to keep horses at that location that they had ignored. And the mayor said that they were from out of town, that they shouldn't have been there. They were itinerants, and we were in the middle of nowhere. We were an hour's drive from a village, so it was kind of no man's land. There was no way we could have called authorities or asked for help.
Wow.
It was like me. It was standing between me and my horses getting ripped apart by hunting dogs. That's what it was.
That's terrifying, and it really is a life and death moment, isn't it?
It was. It really, really was. But unfortunately, in your case, it did end badly.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't pass then, but it just caused her
cascade.
body. Yeah, it caused like system
failure,
malfunction. Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
I did want to be able to share about her a bit, because just to honor her, because she was so amazing. But
if I had have been there,
yeah,
she might have been traumatized by me, not the hunt.
You'd have been there with your bamboo stick.
Absolutely. Well, bless her. We love her, because she formulated the foundation of you today, and you feel her presence when you go out and work with other people and their horses, right?
I do, yeah.
She's right there with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And let me say this is the woo-woo part of me. Not woo-woo. This is the part of me that's open-minded for other possibilities. Sometimes these intense relationships we have with people and with animals, it's the same. Sometimes they can't continue their work on this plane. Sometimes they have to transform so that they can continue their work with you. They have to transform, they have to do it from there, because they can be more powerful there. And I've certainly felt the presence of several animals I've lost and some people I've lost with me. And a year ago, Sani had cancer, an aggressive one, which we caught early and removed, and so far in remission. But at that moment, I remember watching him, and I watched him begin to step towards the line, to straddle one place and another, as if to say to me through pure love, Lockie, I think I have to transform to work with you better there. And I said to him, don't you fucking leave.
Yeah, don't you dare.
I'm not ready. Don't go. We are not done. There's more to do in the mundane here.
Yeah.
There's more to be done. He said, but I need a rest. I said, yes, you're going to get a rest, but there's more to be done here. And he came back. That's the energetics of it for me,
That's amazing.
And are you having conversations like this with Awela or with Max or your others?
Yes, yeah, all the time. Yeah, I love it. It feels like it's just natural, isn't it? It's just part of it all.
How do you teach that to people?
Can
it be taught?
I haven't taught so much of that to people yet, I think. I have a couple of horsey friends around here that already are in that, and so we discuss it between ourselves. But I haven't really brought it into sessions with people yet.
Well, it's there. It's just not spoken to.
Yeah, I think so. It feels like it's just it's the sprinkling of magic that is throughout life. That's how I see it anyway.
And it's been my experience that sometimes the most confused and most anxious of horse people are the ones who have this talent the most for this sense. And if you can align them with it, suddenly the anxiety goes away.
That is such a lovely thing. I'm going to
steal it.
In my pocket. Yeah.
Take it. So I what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're meeting someone who's got anxiety and confusion and they can't find their body, can't find their center, like what we were talking before, sometimes it's been my experience that they have emotional, sensory, energetic something gifts or awareness. I don't say gifts because we've all got it, but they're either rejecting it, not connecting with it, not believing in it, have it wrapped in shame. And if you de-shame it, center it, train it, give light to it, suddenly their whole body becomes into alignment and they're able to work with their animal, be with themselves without that vibrational overtone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's been lovely to get to know you, Ash.
Oh, it's been a real pleasure. It's been a treat.
I have 3 questions that I like to finish the podcast with. Might I take you through them?
Fire away.
Muck out with me. What's one thing in the industry that's a steaming pile of shite in the corner that you'd like to scoop up and go put on a compost heap? One thing.
There could be so many, obviously. I think
Right.
today, I think like the very human belief that horses owe them a certain experience.
I'll muck that out with you. Why? Why would you muck that out?
Because it's so selfishly human-centric without consideration of the horse's life as their own person.
Yes.
Rather than a tool to the human's experience and their goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Second question is about this change that we're kind of going through in the equestrian world right now. We've had many waves of change come, and there's another one here as we speak. How do you define that change we're in right now? Or how are you contributing to it?
The change feels quite binary. It feels like there are some things getting more extreme and some things, like yourself, bringing education forward and helping people think more openly. And I would love to see that become more cohesive. I'd love to see, the other side catch up a little bit. Obviously, we'll catch up a whole lot. And I feel like I am contributing by having conversations with people, by sharing my story with Max particularly. And just by like bringing in bits of education, isn't it? And bringing in elements of learning to be empathetic with yourself when you realize that you've had to grow from something which wasn't particularly beneficial. Because That's quite hard, isn't it? It's quite painful, the feeling when you realize that you could be doing better. And I think that holds people still quite a lot.
People avoid that feeling.
Yeah.
And are angry when someone elicits or illuminates the presence of that feeling in them.
Yes. That brings out quite a big rage, doesn't it?
Yes, a little bit like me with my bamboo stick. It feels like a violation. It feels like something coming into your territory that doesn't belong there.
Yeah. Intrusion.
An intrusion. Yes, I see that also. What's home for you, Ash? In the age of learning journeys, we all got to come home somewhere. What's home for you? What's true for you, no matter what you've learned, no matter where you've gone, no matter what you've done? What's always been true for you, something you can count on?
Horses and animals from day dot. I came out of the womb an animal person, not a human person. And my parents, they found me, wandering around. I just learned to walk and I was carrying a mole and I was just wandering around with a mole.
It's frighteningly British of you. It's like, are you Beatrix Potter? What are you talking about? Is this Wind of the Willows? Are you kidding me?
Not hippie Beatrix Potter.
Walking around with a mole, talking to a mole and like sitting with the toads at the pot. I mean, really? Lovely.
Yeah, I don't think it was an alive mole, but it was my baby anyway.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I think I just found it. So animals for me are home, and just the space shared between you and your horse is home, where you both just see each other.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Tell everyone where they might be able to find you if they'd like to connect with you on the Dartmoor. If there might be some people listening. You might find someone who'd like to work with you, or people who'd like to follow you on social media.
So Ash Moon is my name, and on my horsey social media, it's Little Welsh Dragon, after a whaler, because the Welsh section D was thought of as the original Welsh dragon. Connect with me through Instagram would be the best thing. And I'm setting up my Facebook page at some point for the horsey side.
Wonderful. When you've set up that page, let me know. We'll pop it in the show notes below so people can find you there also.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day.
And you, thank you so much.
Bye. You've been listening to the Emotional Horsemanship Podcast. I'm your host, Lockie Phillips, and that was our guest this week, horse trainer and accredited instructor, Ash Moon. If you enjoyed Ash and you'd like to connect with her further, follow her on social media or hire her for services, you can find her connection details in the show notes of this episode. Please consider subscribing to this podcast, liking and reviewing the podcast also. Really, really helps us. And if you'd like to learn more about emotional horsemanship, please go to emotionalhorsemanship.com, and I hope to see you next week.